Testing, testing, testing. Okay, I think I'm visible now. I think I'm audible now. I think I'm audible now. All right. So today we're talking about hyperandry. Hyperandry, hypergamy. We're going to talk about it all. So hypergamy, eugenics has been described as a negative thing. And that's only because very low-brained people were using it in the beginning of the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. People like, anyway, the Planned Parenthood lady and Hitler and the Nazis and all those people, right? They were using eugenics. Because so was the United States. The United States was actually sterilizing members of the population that they felt that they deemed unworthy of reproduction, such as certain classes of Negroes, people that had mental retardation, things like that. Generally, the use of eugenics in a low, unevolved society is inhumane. It's an awful thing. However, today I'm going to be talking about a natural form of eugenics that happens anyway in society, but it's kind of a haphazard, shoot from the hip type of approach to eugenics that we see in society, and how it is potentially positive, but also very detrimental. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm not going to try to hook you in. If you're interested in growing and increasing your apex human abilities and making sure that you breed at the highest level, stay tuned. If this is not for you, unsubscribe and go somewhere else. All right. So marrying up or marrying down has consequences. Today we're going to be talking about male version of hypergamy, which is hyperandry. Hyperandry and hypergamy have their benefits and their detriments, and we're going to talk about that today. So first of all, hyperandry, hypergamy is when a woman marries up in her SES. So a woman of a lower socioeconomic status marries up. She marries a guy that has more money, has more education, has more social mobility than she does. And this is something that all women typically want to do. Hypogamy is the opposite, when a female marries down, when she's a high-class lady and she marries a poor schlep. Doesn't happen very often. It's like 0.00001% of women are stupid enough to do that, okay? The guy has to have exceptional abilities or something. He has to be an alien or something for her to do something stupid like that. Women are smart, and that's kind of been bred out of the species for at least the last 10,000 years. So you won't find a female that's going to practice hypogamy very often. But hypergamy is something that just about every woman and female is going to aim for. That's intelligent, it's useful to society, but it does have its detriments. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Hyperandry, thanks for joining in the chat. Lynn, welcome. Bonjour. Oh, Leo. Bonjour, comment allez-vous? All right, bienvenue. All right, so hyperandry is something that society does not talk about. In the manosphere, the red pill community, they don't talk about hyperandry. Hyperandry is just as positive and destructive as hypergamy. Hyperandry is when a man of higher social status marries a poor schlep female. The only way that a man would ever do that is because she's hot as shit. She's a fucking 10. But she comes from the gutter, okay? She's from the streets, okay? And that's hyperandry. You will not find hyperandry happening for a woman of lower SMV, and SMV is a sexual marketplace value. You'll never find a multimillionaire guy marry an ugly one that comes from the ghetto. You'll find him marrying a hot 10 that comes from the hood because she's sexy as hell and he's never had access to that. Now he's got money. But that's not going to happen for an ugly one from the hood or from the trailer park or from the barrio. Okay? Not going to fucking happen. So, you know, that's what Kevin Samuels was saying. He was brilliant. He was telling women that were like, she's 250 pounds, she's 5'1", and she's talking about she's going to grab herself a 6'6", a 6-inch, six-figure, 6-foot dude. Not going to fucking happen, lady. All the law of attraction stuff aside, not going to fucking happen. So hypergamy is when a woman marries up sexually in her social economic status. Hyperandry or hyperandry, which is almost never talked about, is when a man marries up in the SMV but down SES, socioeconomic status. So got that out of the way, everything defined. All right, so hypergamy is very positive for society when it comes to money, because what happens is money from the top filters down. So let's say you've got a multimillionaire guy, the Prince of Monaco, for instance. The Prince of Monaco, of course, he married an American, the King of Monaco, married an American royal. She was gorgeous, by the way, very high SES. She was feminine, she was agreeable, she was gorgeous, just a queen, a lady of ladies, a woman of women, beautiful blonde American woman from the Midwest. Didn't come from a lot of money, but she was a higher SMV. Absolutely gorgeous. She was an actress. His kids went on and they became famous and did all these great philanthropic things. Now, the son of the king got with with an African woman and had a little, mulatto baby, which just came out recently. Look it up. Anyway, so hypergamy can be beneficial for society because it takes money from the top and it filters it down into the lower classes. And so, like I said, you come from royalty or you come from a lot of money, tech millionaire family or whatever, or the Trump family. And let's say Barron Trump married a girl from a lower SES. Her family's like middle class, and she marries a Barron Trump. That can be good for her and her family and her children. Because let's say she gives him 5 kids. All 5 of those kids are going to have access to the wealth of the Trump and the status of the Trump family. However, the Trump family is potentially endangering itself, but we're going to get into the negative sides of it. Okay, so it's good for social mobility of the children, but it's potentially bad ultimately if she comes from a lower social economic status and she marries a higher guy. She's not going to pass on the refinement, sophistication, and the erudite qualities of the higher social economic status because she's from a lower class. And so the kid's going to have the lower class qualities because they're being raised by a lower class mom. All right. So hyperandry lowers so that's hyperandry potentially can lower the I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit. So hypergamy, let's go back to hypergamy. Hypergamy can lower the genetics of the kids. So let's say you have a girl from the hood. Let's just use the ghetto, okay? You got this girl from the ghetto, but she's a 10. She got the genetic lottery, gorgeous face, gorgeous hair, gorgeous body, right? Gorgeous skin, good genetics, right? She looks young until she's 50. She's from the hood, right? She looks like she's 20 until she's 50. Um, so genetically, hypergamy is going to detriment her and the kids because she's a 10 from the hood, but she's going to marry a guy from a tech family, like a tech millionaire family, but they're fucking Aspie, I'm not going to say what ethnicity, but they're Aspergery, right? And they've got, they're allergic to everything, right? They're allergic to peanuts. They're allergic to everything, but they come from a higher social economic status. So she's lowering the genetic potential of her children by marrying a guy with more money, but his genetics are shit. And you find that a lot in the wealthier, higher echelons, is that unfortunately the higher intellect, higher money people sometimes have shit genetics because there are fewer people in those classes. And when they marry among each other, they're potentially marrying closer cousins. In the ghettos, barrios, and trailer parks, that happens too. But you have a wider genetic pool for the poor. So the poor have a wider genetic pool. Think of a pyramid. You have more people at the bottom, so you have more genetic mixing. And so you have a better gene pool. So you have, better bodies physically. They age a little bit better. They have harder lives, so they age worse sometimes. But if they had the money and things like that, they would age better. But people at the top tend to, the blue blood condition, right? People at the top, there's only a couple of them, and they're marrying their cousins, and so they're perpetuating genetic problems, recessive traits like, I don't know, Klinefelter's, no, not Klinefelter's, yeah, Klinefelter syndrome, or perhaps what's that, sickle cell anemia. Some of these terrible genetic things they get passed on. They get passed on among people from the upper echelons that are marrying close to each other. So hypergamy can pull those negative genetic traits down into the lower, into SES, higher SES people, but lower SMV people. Sorry, higher SMV, lower SES. I'm going to keep focused here. All right. So hypergamy lowers the genetic potential of society, can produce weaker kids. Okay. So let's talk about hyperandry. Okay. Hyperandry can lower the social intelligence, refinement, sophistication, and culture of the children. Like I said earlier, a man from royalty, let's say the British royal house, marries some woman from the trashy community, so he may get better genetics, but the kid's going to be raised by a woman that has not had the refinement, sophistication, and education of the higher classes. And so the kids are not going to be very refined. They're going to be super loud when it comes to, social settings. When they hang around with their more refined cousins, they're going to be perhaps more boisterous, more violent, more emotionally triggered. They're not going to have the same refinement. Now, of course, if they're growing up in their dad's world, they're going to have tutors and people that are going to teach them how to be more refined, more apex. But that potentially with hyperandry lowers the social status of the kids. So as you can see, there are benefits to hyperandry and hypergamy for the offspring. Hyperandry with the offspring, they tend to have better genetics than their dad's family. With hypergamy, they tend to have better money than their mother's family. However, the detriments are with hypergamy, women do this and they try to do this. If they marry up, they're potentially marrying someone with lower genetics. If they, with the hyperandry, with men marrying a lower status woman, the kids are potentially gaining they're gaining more money from their father, but they're not getting the refinement they're supposed to get from their mother. Okay, so solution to this is, if you're an apex human, like as far as men are concerned, you can come from the ghetto, from the hood, from the barrio, from the trailer park, and you can rise up to a high status man. You can rise to a very high status man. You can become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. And that means that you're going to be able to have access to more women, more attractive women, and more beautiful women. Now, what that means is you have to make sure you're still marrying an apex female or an apex woman. You're still marrying and producing offspring with a woman who is refined, sophisticated, feminine, agreeable, and attractive as well, which is, it's whatever with attraction, right? You just want to marry a woman that's going to pass on positive traits to the offspring. Okay. Okay. So the Bible says to not be unequally yoked. And it says, can two walk together lest they be agreed? And the Bible is very pro eugenics. Okay. And we have to kind of be, I know eugenics is considered a bad thing, but it's really not. We really need to engage eugenics again in society. But we have to do it organically and righteously. We have to do it with understanding, compassion, love. We can't just kill off people that we deem unworthy of reproduction. That's stupid. That's what barbarian savages do. That's what low-brained people do. And that's what the Nazis did. That's what the American eugenicists did with Planned Parenthood and all that other stuff. And so we have to be better than that. And apex humans are better than that. So in 2 Corinthians 6:14, it says, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And if you're an apex human, you are the light. You are the salt. You are the exceptional humans of the earth. You should never, and look, if you're going to have sexual relationships with a person who's not an apex human, that's going to, tie you to some demonic things and stuff like that, but you can work through that. When you have children in those situations, you are potentially encumbering young adults, children, to the practices and the lifestyles and the evil energies of someone from that lifestyle. And so it's very important that if you're moving toward an apex life and you're currently yoked to a person that's not apex human and not a geopolitical Christian, that you break those ties before you have children. Now, if you have children with that person, work it out. Find a way to make sure those children have a stable home as much as possible. But if you can prevent bringing children into the world, that's going to save society. It's going to improve society. So the solution to all of this is that Equally yoked people are equally yoked. Back in the day, this is one thing the Hindus kind of got right, but they fucked up totally, is the caste system. The caste system has its value. In India, it's trash. They fucked that shit up. The last 5,000 years, India did a terrible job with the caste system. They totally fucked that up. But initially, the caste system was the best idea in the world, and all cultures had it. You know, the working class people married working class people. Why? Because you wanted able-bodied people in the physical building of society. Working class people were honored and respected and understood as extremely valuable to society. They were not looked down upon in the initial caste system. Current caste system's trash. Um, so what happened was you had strong, able-bodied people marrying and producing offspring with strong, able-bodied people. Strong men with strong women producing strong offspring. So you had exceptional athletes in that class. They were not a lower class; they were just the working class. They loved that status in society. Did a great job with it. The erudite society, the intellectuals, the big brains, the eggheads, they produce offspring with other eggheads. Okay, and guess what? The offspring of those eggheads were even super eggheads, right? And so that is the initial a purpose of the eugenics and the caste system. But again, India fucked that up. Hinduism destroyed that. They made it it just did a terrible job with it. But it's still better than the marry for love thing that you got in the West. So, like the Bible said, how can two walk together except they be agreed? You've got to match yourself with someone that's going in the direction that you're going. And if you're an apex human, a geopolitical Christian, you're going to match yourself with someone who is on your level. That makes a better society. Look, two people from the ghetto are going to understand the lifestyle of the ghetto. They're going to be able to raise children. They're going to be able to survive in that sort of environment. Now, we need to get rid of ghettos, trailer parks, barrios, shit worlds. We need to get rid of that in society. Eventually, we're going to do that. But people in the societies and those cultures can better understand each other. They can better communicate. So someone from the upper echelons of society should never marry down, ever. Not females, not males, ever. If you want to improve the genetics, maybe you can get a concubine from that community or mistress from that community and make sure the children are surrounded by tutors, surrounded by people that can help them to refine themselves so they're not ghetto in the in the upper echelons of society, in the halls of in the greater halls of society. So this is a re-education, a reintroduction of genetics, of eugenics. Geopolitical Christianity is very pro-eugenics, very pro-caste system, but again, caste system in the apex, golden age mindset. So when we use hypergamy in its apex form, we can improve the improve the social economics of society. Hypergamy is when females of lower status marry males of higher status. When we use hyperandry positively, we can increase the genetics of society. That's when men of higher SES, or social economic status, marry women of lower SES. Why are they doing that? Because she has won the genetic lottery. She's got a great body, she's physically attractive, but the trick here is she may be physically attractive, may have won the genetic lottery, but you need to make sure that she is amenable to a higher status. And that's where you can find an apex one. By the way, apex women, apex men are in the ghetto, in the barrios and all that stuff. They start there, they always get out, but they come from these places. You have some of the most exceptional human beings, the most apex humans in the world come from the ghettos, from the trailer parks, from the barrios, from the fucking slums of the world. The best humans on earth, okay? Look, one of the top billionaires, a couple of the top billionaires, I'm talking 100 billion plus people, one of the guys was born in Mittal. He was born in Calcutta, lived in Calcutta for the majority of his life, and moved around. His family, so he didn't come from a high status. He might have come from a higher caste. He might have been a Brahmin or something. I haven't looked at his caste. But he came from a shit slum world, a shithole, right? And then he rose to the top of the top of the top of the top. That happens for a lot of people. Oprah Winfrey, truly an apex woman. Don't agree with her politics. Think she's an idiot when it comes to that. But she's still an apex woman, hands down. She came from a shit world. She came from the fucking trash part of Louisiana, Mississippi. Now, again, country folk are not necessarily coming from the lower class. Country folk are strong people, really, really high quality people. But anyway, she came from basically a plantation. Okay, Melania Trump. Okay, she was in the underworld for a long time, and then she met Donald Trump. But she is an apex female, an apex woman. She's a woman of women of womans. She's a woman of women, woman. She is exceptionally attractive and beautiful, and she is just apex all the way around. Look at Barron Trump; he's got an exceptional mother. Okay, so with eugenics, we need to bring that back. And it starts with you. By the way, drop a like in the video if you're finding this valuable to you. Just hit the screen twice, boom, boom. But eugenics has to come back. Geopolitical Christianity is going to bring that back. We're going to bring back eugenics. We are going to bring back the caste system. It is valuable. The thing is, we can no longer have ghettos, barrios, trailer parks, and homelessness and things like that. Okay, look, being without a house is okay. Look, I'm doing that right now. I love it. I'm doing great. However, we've got to take society outside of this really low state. And that happens with us starting with our lives. Start with ourselves. We improve ourselves first, and we refuse to marry down spiritually and socially, okay? And financially and economically. All right, so that's what I have to say about that. Hypergamy, hyperandry have their values, but we have to be careful. If you're a man of higher social status, you got tons of money, be very careful marrying a 10 who came from a fatherless home, the hood, barrio, trailer park. Be very careful. Test the shit out of her. Make sure she is an apex female. Don't listen to what the fuck she's saying because her words are trash. Women can lie as quickly as they can fart. Like, so can men, but women are better at it. The thing is, watch her actions. Watch how she treats you. Watch how, is she agreeable? Is she feminine? Is she sophisticated? Look, a woman can come from hell. She can come from the hood. She can come from the slums, and she can be one of the best, most apex females, apex women you will ever meet because she's been through it. She knows what it's like to survive and to thrive despite challenges. She knows how to use her mind, not just her body. So keep that in mind. And women, if you're watching this, you're gonna marry up, make sure he's not a sniffling piece of shit, okay? Look, he may have a lot of money, but I got peanut allergies and I need to take my hydrocodone. That's going to be in your kids, okay? So be very careful. If you marry up financially, women, if you're an apex female, make sure that he's taking care of his body and showing that, look, he can have congenital defects. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of the best people, most powerful people on the earth have congenital defects, or crippled or whatever. They are the best people on earth. They are apex humans. However, you got to check his mind. Make sure he is out there, ambitious, growing, creating, and he's going to provide structure and stability for you and your kids. The areas that you may be lacking in refinement, sophistication, he's going to have an outlet for that so that you can improve yourself that way, and then you can teach the kids that you're going to bring into the world that way. That's how we create a golden age. It starts with us, okay? So thank you for watching. I got to get this thing going. I got to get out of here. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you drop a like before I end this video. Be blessed. And make sure you get your copy of, I'll pull this out, most important book that's going to lead to the next golden age. Hey, God, wake the fuck up. Okay? This is Bible wisdom you're not supposed to know about real life and the real you. You got to get your hands on it. It's life-changing. It's part of the next step, the golden age we're moving into. Thank you so much for watching. I got to get out of here.